Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have Tushar Pradhan, who is director at Hxgon Partners LLP and former chief investment officer at HSBC, Global Asset Management India, where he had led investment strategy and portfolio management. With over 25 years of experience in Indian and global capital markets, he is a respected industry voice, frequently featured in leading business media. An MBA from University of Hartford, USA, Tushar has worked with reputed organizations in India and the US. A long-time practitioner of Heartfulness Meditation and Preceptor since 2007, he also serves as trustee of the Heartfulness Education Trust and Sahaj Marg Spirituality Foundation. So thank you, Tushar, for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Varundeep, and welcome everyone to this session. One of the things I'd like to say upfront is that I was pretty excited when I was told that this is a group of CIOs, because I was also a CIO for quite some time of my career. But then I realized these are the more evolved CIOs who are technology officers and people who deal with technology on a daily basis. While my CIO designation was more to do with investments. So the chief investment officer versus the chief information officer. I used to get a lot of calls from people thinking I was a CIO. So I was very flattered, but really happy to be here. What I'd like to do is there are no presentations or PPTs. So let me clarify that this is not a very professional presentation. However, it is more from my experience that I will be speaking a little bit in terms of how I have found the practices of heartfulness extremely useful for my daily life, whether it is in my professional life or whether it is in the family or whether it is with relationships. I just find that there has been an amazing improvement in my ability as a person, as a professional, as a family member, due to these practices. And I'm here to share with you not only just a little bit about how it has affected me, but to take us through a practical experience of the same. So it is not about just talking about it, which can go on for hours and into books, but really having the ability to experience it, something which we all can touch, feel, and experience. And I will let you be the ultimate judge of whether this works or not. So this is an experiential session in that sense. And for that, I will request all of your cooperation and alertness throughout the method. We will get into the experiment in some time, and I will, largely describe the situation before we get into it. And with the time available to us, we will very comfortably also have some time afterwards, after our experience, for us to understand and to probably make sense of what has happened through that experiment. Whether you have any questions, whether you have any observations, whether you would like to share something, we will have ample time after that experiment for us to discuss, and I'll be here as long as you wish to be able to answer some of those questions if possible. And that is how the structure of the presentation will be. So thank you again for joining today. I know we all have time commitments, and spending so much time is really very, very valuable. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your presence here. Let me begin with a little bit about myself. Varundeep was very kind enough to share my brief profile. But just to give you an idea, what is it that I was in for most part of my career, and I continue to remain very involved with the stock markets and the capital markets, and what is it all about? So to begin with, I'm sure you may have seen CNBC at some point of time, or may be interested in stocks, or some of you may have actually been invested in stocks. And that is when you may have realized that all of your knowledge, all of our ability to understand what is happening in the world doesn't really work out as an algorithm as you may have thought. There is a lot of uncertainty in stock markets. So essentially, stock markets basically trade in securities, which are listed equities of companies. What really that means is that if you have a company, say Nestle, which makes Maggi noodles and milk powder, etc., that company has a certain value. How much is it worth? That's how we try to figure out. And that value is distributed in a price per share. And that price is traded in the market. So which means there is a different opinion on what the price will be depending on news, depending on people's understanding of the company. Essentially, it's a market which decides what the price of this stock should be, what the price of this company should be, what the value of this company should be. It is traded every minute of the trading hour, and it continues to trade over days, over years, forever, as long as the company remains listed. So that's a little bit of an understanding of what stock markets are. Now, here comes the complication. If you're investing on your own with your own money, it's your risk. If you think that the value of this company is much higher than what it is trading at in the market, you will tend to buy and wait for this to happen. Many times, and probably more often than not, your idea of what the valuation is differs with what someone else's idea is, right? And that is just the simple understanding what a market is. A market is a difference of opinion between the seller and a buyer. Why does anybody sell something? Because they think that's the best price they can get. Why is anybody buying it? Because they think that is the best price they can get. So which means the transaction itself is a contradiction in terms of what they keep happening all the time. Now, why am I bringing this up? Is this a tutorial on stock markets? No. This is just to give you some idea of the kind of uncertainty I have dealt with in my life. And this is just to share with you that all of your lives, whether being chief technology officers or dealing with uncertain situations at work, or dealing with just the absolute uncertainness of technology as such, that what is true today is not true tomorrow, and it will never be tomorrow and the day after as well, which means that we are dealing with significant change, and our ability to adjust to it becomes very paramount as a human being, to be able to work in technology, to be able to survive in technology, and to be able to thrive in technology. So we all are at the peak of your careers, or at least, from a position perspective. And you may have noticed that, your resilience, your ability to deal with this change over time probably has got you to this position. So I don't have to coach you on what resilience is or meaning, but I want to share with you what are the situations which create this kind of uncertainty, and how do we come out of it. I'm sure all of you have your own experiences about how you've dealt with it. Sometimes we deal with it almost, I would say, without any intention. It just happens. I mean, you've got to deal with it, and we deal with it. Some of the time we can actually think through the solutions and then arrive at an optimal solution, and we think that we've done the right thing. Sometimes we do all of that, and the outcomes are completely different than what we imagined them to be. And that is when the subject of today's discussion, resilience, comes into the picture. And essentially, when I talk about resilience, it means probably jumping back or coming back from something which is an adverse situation. Resilience is not something about jumping forward from a good situation. Resilience is something when you are absolutely being beaten down. All of the things that you think were likely to happen do not happen. All of the supports that you carry to either make a proposition or to be where you are as a position, they all fall down. Your ability to come out of such a situation, I believe, is a description of resilience. And resilience is essentially something that allows you to learn from the experience and gain from it and go forward as a positive rather than say, look, I failed here, this did not work, or I was thrown out of a job, or whatever it was that the outcome is. So if I have to develop resilience, if I have to say that this is a necessary skill for not only you guys who have, scaled the peak of your careers already, but for someone starting out new in today's world, which we call as the VUCA world, which is volatile, which is uncertain, which is complex, and this is absolutely asymmetric in the sense that we don't have all the information all the time. Many times we are lucky if we have some information. And many times that information turns out to be either wrong or maybe needs to be renewed very quickly before we can even grasp. So given this situation, what is it that we have done in our learning, in our training, to really prepare for such situations? Just think about it a little bit. We go to school, we go to college, we take significant hard knowledge about a subject, whether it's technology, whether it's whatever. And we become good at something. We become a specialist. And then we offer our services to employers, and then we start our careers. Now, throughout this entire period, apart from the academic testing that we get, which is your level of preparation about a subject, your level of understanding of the subject, and then you're testing whether you actually do this well or not. And I think that is the only thing that we learn. And many times we are well prepared for it. We have good tutors, we have good mentors, and we pass through these situations fairly easily, I would think. And not too many uncertainties actually come across our way all the way into your first two jobs. And that's when the action begins, right? That's when you feel that, you start, feeling a little uncertain about your job. You start to feel as if someone else has taken credit for, a job that you did. You start to feel professional jealousy about the opportunity somebody else gets versus what you got, or you get upset about the rate of progression within that organization that you joined. You're unhappy with the salary or the compensation you get compared to either your peer set or whoever you want to aspire to be. And that is when the challenges start. And that is just the beginning of the challenges of life. It quickly goes on to challenges within family. If you get married, you have children, and then suddenly you have multiple responsibilities, multiple stakeholders, and multiple stakeholders on your time as you pass even further into life. So we all have gone through this. This is nothing new. But all I'm asking is a question where I'm asking whether did we ever get trained to face the life challenges that we actually get? And I'd be very happy to hear any of your responses on the chat box, or anybody wants to venture out vocally, whether it is possible in the webinar, I don't know, but please feel free to open up your chat and answer this single question, that in our training before joining, formal employment, did we ever get any teaching, any preparation, any mentorship in learning how to deal with the problems of life? I think I'm getting some good responses. No, not at all, which was the expected response. No. Vijay Kumar is saying no. So I think I get the gist. This was just simply to check whether you're all there, because the webinar is a real tough thing to address. When it's a live situation, I can see the responses, I can see the faces. But here, I'm practically just by myself. So thank you for your responses. I will wish that you continue to respond. So that way, I will have some reinforcement about what I'm sharing is reaching you guys. So thank you, first of all, so much for your responses. Yes, no, we did not ever get any training to deal with these problems. But yes, we got the training deal with the professional issues, such as how do you code, or what is the system structure, or whatever we need hard learning on, we always got it. But we were not trained on anything else. Forget about life skills. They did not even talk about conflict resolutions. Now, this is a subject which I'm sure at your senior level you face a lot. Essentially between departments, right? And essentially, since you are in technology, people expect that you will have all the answers. I'm sure you have a lot of answers, but there are so many constraints to what you can deliver. Yes, everything is possible if the budgets are infinite, right? And that is when the conflicts arise. But no one has actually taught you how to resolve the conflict. You will only argue from your perspective, which is technology, which is the constraints, which is the ability to deliver something practically over a period of time. You will argue from that position, and that's all you can do. But the person who's demanding, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the marketing team, whether it is whichever department is on the other side, they have a different perspective. And many times it is just left to the two protagonists to figure out what to do. And it's not very ideal, but no one has learned how to resolve conflict. No one has learned how to really go forward in a positive way. Nobody has tutored us on this. And I can assure you that there are courses on conflict resolution, that this is a subject by itself, and there are PhDs in conflict resolution. Even if you take a management course, I think there's a very small sliver of a subject in behavioral finance that teaches your behavior and what leads to conflict, etc. But other than that, there is really nothing to prepare us for the challenges at senior levels. And I think these problems get more serious as we progress in our careers. And I think that is very essential to understand that, is there a solution? Is there something that I can do by myself? I don't have to go to a course. I don't have the time to do it. I don't even know whether that course is actually going to deliver on what it is promising. But can I do something which will help me to understand how to deal with challenges in life? Essentially, how to come back from a reverse. What is resilience all about? Can I do that? And again, I don't want to toot my horn too much, but I can only come from my experience. So that is why I'm sharing this with you. That as a fund manager, as a portfolio manager who is given the fiduciary responsibility of managing someone else's money, right? I'm just trying to allow you to imagine how tough a job that is. You've taken money from someone who you don't even know, and they trust you because they think you're an expert, etc. You take their money and you invest that in the stock market. And the stock market, is extremely uncertain for various reasons. It goes ups and downs. And over time, you deliver a certain return. I can assure you that everyone is unhappy because either the expectations are not right, and it is difficult to get one solution for everyone. So the return is only one. There's just that one thing. And this is something that I used to deal with on a daily basis. What you have done as your job is available for everyone to see publicly every day. Now, we all have these, performance evaluation meetings, etc., which happen periodically, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a year. So it takes us a long time before we are able to express what we've done. Our bosses look at it in a different way, and then they evaluate how we have done. Now, imagine this for me, that my portfolio, which I have generated for a group of people, is available for view every day. So they can judge me every day compared to all of the other funds available. And they will tell me, oh, you have not done well than so many other people. And the fact that I may have done well than so many other people, which means I'll be somewhere in between, is not any comfort to them. Now, thankfully, I don't deal with investors on a daily basis, but I can imagine that I deal with complexity, I deal with expectations, and I deal with situations where I genuinely may underperform for whatever reasons, which means I might be, if you know how mutual funds are evaluated, they're evaluated by quartiles. So the entire distribution of funds is broken up into 4 quarters. And if you're able to manage your fund in a performance in the first quartile, you're supposed to be very good. In the second quartile, average third quartile, you have underperformed essentially the market as well as half the people who manage funds. And if you end up in the fourth quartile, you are a disaster. Now, just imagine that these calculations are done every day, available for everyone to evaluate. And some of you who have mutual funds may have experienced what I just expressed, that you are disappointed with the fund you bought, all the other funds are doing better, and you just think that the fund manager is an idiot, right? That is me. So I used to be on the other side. And it's been close to 30 years that I am in this profession, and I do this actively, professionally. So just to give you some examples of what resilience means, and how is it and what did I do to be able to handle these pressures a little better. I don't think I was perfect. I don't think I am perfect. I have still a lot more to learn. But certainly, I can assure you that a practice which I have followed for practically 25 years of my life, every day, did allow me, in my opinion, a little bit of space between the reaction. It allowed me an ability to understand that people are not saying this because they hate me. People are saying this because they genuinely misunderstand or they genuinely feel disappointed about what has happened, which is a fact. So which means over time, I have to develop a methodology to deal with the conflict, to deal with what is supposedly a failure, which I would face practically every day. So no one waits for a year to say whether you've done well or not. If you've not done well for a week, a year, you're a failure. So that's the kind of environment I'm talking about, which all of the fund managers face. And over time, they do well, over time, they do badly. But we have to be resilient. I cannot say that, look, I did a bad job, so throw me out. No, I have to come back to the same market. I have to reevaluate the portfolio. I have to see whether I've genuinely gone wrong, or I have to have the patience to ride the difficult times and to prove my point that, look, at some point of time, the portfolio is going to do well. All of this encapsulated, for my experience, I am sure in some way, all of you guys may have experienced. And if I were to share this methodology where by doing this every day, I've been able to, present a lot better, I would say, in terms of my own inner, I would say, mental state, and come out confident in front of our team members and in front of our investors, then I'm sure you would love to hear, what do I do? So that's the background in terms of, where we all come from, what are the challenges we face. Again, nothing new for all of you. But what is it that I did? So many years ago, I had a dream of working on Wall Street. And I don't know how these things work, but I came from a very middle-class background in Mumbai. I was not a very bright student. And probably I had no hope of satisfying a dream that I had, that I wanted to work on Wall Street somehow. And this is not the time to get through how I did that, but I ended up on Wall Street. I was 25 years old. I had a card which said, blah, 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 95 Wall Street, Tushar Pradhan. And suddenly I hit a wall. I said, look, I have done whatever I wish to do, dreamt whatever I needed to do. Now what? Is life over? Like you would have realized once you took the CIO role. Said, look, I'm top of the mountain. I am the CIO. Now what? And that is really sometimes the challenges that we also have to feel. And to get inspired every day that there is something more that I can achieve because I'm here and I can do better than what I have done today or even yesterday. What is it that drives me from within to do this? And that is really when I started looking for a practice, looking for some more meaning in life rather than titles, rather than saying I was working on Wall Street. What is there about life that we need to learn about? So that's where my journey began. And that's how I'm sharing with you that all of us reach this point at some point. I was just lucky that, it hit me pretty early. So my search started early, and it led me to various practices. And I learned about meditation as a concept at that time, saying that people who meditate uh, deal with the situation better. That is the solution which was handled to me. The problem was that whenever you talk about meditation, especially I'm talking about the 90s when I began, the concept that comes to mind is someone who has a long beard, not the short one that I have, but a long beard who is sitting in some jungle and who has given up his life and is meditating. That is the image that comes to everyone's mind when they talk about meditation. Even today, when I talk to youngsters about meditation, they say, "Oh, what does closing your eyes, doing nothing mean? It's not going to be practical. What are you talking about?" And that is the kind of resistance that a lot of people have to this word called meditation. But I quickly was over it because I needed it. I thought there was a solution there, and then I explored. And then I realized that there are various types of meditation. Meditation is a technique to essentially regulate one's mind. And why does one need to regulate the mind? Because the mind is very open to suggestion. In Hindi, it is called, or Sanskrit, it's called chanchala, which means it is ever changing. It keeps changing all the time. Once I think of something, the next second I think of something else. The mind doesn't settle down. We are not trained to settle the mind. But if you were to ask, what is the root of creativity? What is it where most of these wonderful ideas come from? They don't come from chaos. They don't come from confusion. They come from clarity. They come from somewhere which is absolutely still. That's when a great idea can come. That's when creativity can happen. But we don't allow this kind of environment, even externally, forget about internally. Even if we allow for this externally and say, look, don't talk to me for the next 2 days. I want to go into my cabin and think about a solution to this problem. Your mind is not going to settle down. Even if you have external quiet, you will not be able to quiet your mind because you're just going crazy. And the more urgently you try to find a solution, the further it keeps going. So it's almost a contradiction. To be able to solve a complex problem, you need to become simple within. Only then is somewhere that you can say, oh, this is where it came from. Thank you very much, Nurada ji, for giving me this feedback in between. I really love this because I know people are listening and getting something out of it, and keep them coming. uh, so this is really where I see the contradiction in terms of trying to find the silence for us to be able to be creative, for us to be able to solve problems. But we are not trained to bring the mind's activity down. Essentially, if anything, I can describe meditation to be, meditation is a means to really analyze or to regulate the flow of thoughts. And if you're able to do that with any, I would say, precision or any, I would say, capability, you're done. That's it. But we are unable to do that. So this is not a new problem, by the way. This is not something which is very new to human beings because we've become very complex, etc. The biggest source of knowledge in this country of behavior and of attitudes and of our ability to solve the problems of life comes from this book called the Bhagavad Gita. And the protagonist of that big poem, about why this poem actually was sung by God, was because Arjuna was confused. He was completely at a loss, knowing that he had all the ability. He was the best archer in the world. He was a great commander. He was a prince. He was everything. And he was capable of defeating anybody and any army in front. And he had a bow in his hand called the Gandiv, who supposedly the ability of that was to, fire millions of arrows at one time, the capability, everything was given. He could not even lift the bow. Such was his despondency. And this is our problem, right? We have all the ability in the world to be able to solve all the problems. But if you are confused, you don't know what the purpose of what you are there for, all of that will be exactly the problem that Arjuna faced, which means that this is not a new problem. So there is some comfort to the fact that, look, we are not newly associated with this complexity. This existed and this will always exist as long as human beings have been here in this world. We are not sure of the direction that we want to go, etc., etc. So what was the song of God which gave him the light, which gave him the ability to say, look, you have all the ability. You just have to believe in yourself. And that you have to understand what your duty is. And once you understand that, once you understand the purpose of your life, you will do well. You will be victorious. And I think that was the essence of the message of the Gita. And it is described in various ways, etc. But we don't need to go into that. We need to know how this is relevant to us. So one of the things that as a means of solution, which is given in the Bhagavad Gita, is to do meditation. Yeah, it's there. That's the solution. And that is again which led me to, finding more and more about this subject, saying that if it can solve problems that Arjuna had at that time, I'm sure it can apply to me today. And that's when I became very serious about saying that, look, this is something which is a solution for all of us at this time. And that's when the search became real for me. The second problem, as soon as I understood that this was going to be my solution, I found no practical way of learning how to meditate. There were books and books and books written about meditation. If, for example, if you really want to get inspired, and I'm sure some of you may have even tried that, is to have read Swami Vivekananda's 18, volumes. I think there are 9 of them, on his own discovery of what Vedanta is and what meditation is, and all of those things that he has written about. Complete works of Swami Vivekananda. If you read them, okay, Gaurav is asking what about Osho. We'll cover that as quickly as possible whenever I can. But just the stream of thought that I have currently is to just tell you that while people talk about meditation, where there are books written about meditation, there is very little practical help about learning how to meditate. They can teach you a technique in a book, but I don't think that's something which can be done. I mean, it's very difficult. So which means you need to find a teacher, you need to find someone who is willing to do this for you. Only then you can progress. Everywhere it ends with that, including Osho, where he said he used to talk about the fact that Buddha or all of these enlightened souls have done a disservice to all of us because they are standing on this mountain where they've reached spiritual elevation and saying, come, 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 meditate and come. But no one is teaching us how to meditate, or whether it's relevant to me, etc. And I think he was the first one who actually had these practical meditation sessions. And he used to introduce people in a practical experience of meditation. But those techniques, they're very diverse and many times difficult to follow. Vipassana is a method which is taught very widely in India. But if any of you have gone through that, very soon all of us can realize that it's a little impractical. I'm not saying anything about its effectiveness. I'm sure it is actually a very, very effective method. But the preparation to be able to meditate is to be with yourself for a long period of time, not talk to anyone, eat raw food, sleep on the hard floor, prepare an environment where something can happen. Now, all of us are so busy that to be able to give so much time for something currently, which I don't even understand, is difficult at best. So let's be a little practical about this, that yes, that might be a great method, but does it suit me? Which was the question that I also asked, that look, I mean, all these realized souls have documented how they did it, they practiced this sort of meditation and they reached. But I, as a CIO, or at that time I was an analyst, don't have the time to do this, but I need it. How do I get there? And that's where I found this particular method in Heartfulness extremely useful. Because first of all, it is practical. It is for everyone. And you can truly experience what meditation is without any training, without any preparation. You can just be the way you are today. Anyone who has an open mind, would like to experience this, can try this. And if it works for you for a day or two or three or however long it takes before you can get a hang of it, you can continue this for the rest of your life. This is as simple as it is. I'm not trying to make it a big selling point here, because I'm not selling anything. I'm just sharing my experiences about how I experienced this type of meditation, which was so simple to do, with all of the baggage that I carried, with no practical preparation of meditation, and I could meditate from day one. So what? If you are able to meditate, what happens? Right. So that's really what we'd like to know. And I can assure you that there were times which were so difficult in my life. And it was not just my life, but it made it more intense because of the role I was playing. So just to give a small example before we get into the actual practical experience, I will just cover this very quickly. This was the year 2008. I had raised $1 billion locally in 2 or 3 funds. We were a young company, an American company which had its name AIG Investments. If any of you remember AIG, it was right in the smack middle of the global financial crisis, which had broken out in 2008. And there was a time that AIG went bankrupt. And it was taken over by the government of the United States, which we at that time didn't know what it meant, but basically we knew that we had no jobs. Not only did we think that the world was going to come to an end in AIG, but the whole world was coming to an end. So if I didn't have a job, that's okay, but I had no jobs outside of there. And Citibank was going under. Lehman Brothers had already gone under. It was a global crisis, especially in the financial world. And on the day that the United States actually bailed out AIG by buying out 100% of its equity, I was going to work. And on that morning, I meditated like I do every day. I meditated just like every day. I was able to meditate, which I think was my biggest medal on that day. And I carried that condition of having meditated and went into the dealing room. Everyone I could see was in a state of intense agitation. And that is natural. I think those were the days that, you didn't know what was going to happen every day. And I just had one thing to say to them, that, look, whatever has to happen will happen to a lot of people. We are not special. Let's look at our companies. So that's the reason why I gave you a little bit of a background about what stock markets is all about. We have bought into companies which are listed in India. Do you think people will stop eating because of a global financial crisis? Do you think that certain businesses will just stop because there's a global financial crisis? I wasn't saying anything new, but the manner in which I was speaking, because the meditation had granted me this sort of condition into me. And it just provided the environment for everyone to settle down. They went back to their desks, they did what they had to do. And many years later, when I meet some of my colleagues from that time, they really mention this to me. They tell me that, the way you walked into that room and the way you were very calm and you were able to describe the situation to us, that put everything in the best context that we could imagine. And I didn't get this feedback right away, but when I get this feedback so many years later, I really feel the thing which was responsible for my ability to do this was really my ability to meditate every day. And if we all can do this, if it all can become a practice, because remember, having a great meditation experience in one day doesn't really do anything. It might look exciting, but it doesn't do anything. It's only when you keep doing it every day, does it involve your entire being, your thinking changes, your habits change, you become a different person. And this I can say only for myself. And not that, I have a medal to prove that I've changed, but I know. And that is what really I'm sharing with you, that if you make a sincere effort to say that, let's try it, let's see whether this works for some time, try it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever, however long it takes. And to see for yourself that is it getting me in a state where I can respond better to situations, that my thinking is not so frenetic that I'm unable to see the obvious solutions, that I can slow myself down, ability to look at the big picture, deal with people, be empathetic, all of that actually comes from being able to meditate every day. Essentially, meditation is just your ability to center yourself, to be able to feel calm and to face the challenges. But we don't allow this training to happen. While we know what should we be doing, our responses are shaped by years and years of certain trainings, certain impressions that we have about people, certain, I would say, difficulties that we have with different people. And that brings me to this very interesting question that Gaurav is asking. How does one control one's thoughts? Now we are getting into the real nitty-gritty of meditation is all about. Krishna Chala is asking, have you felt any difference in meditation state with time of the day? We always hear that morning is the best. Yeah, these questions are great, and we will address them as we go along, but not before we experience it, because we will just then keep talking about this, and it'll just be my response, and you'll have to take it for whatever I say. So should we then get into the real experiment? Should we now try to see whether this happens to us? Would love to hear whether we want to start it right now. Yes, okay. Thank you so much. So I get a lot of yeses. So thank you so much for it. So it gives me the confidence to go ahead and say, look, let's try this experiment. All of us can do this, first of all. Let me assure you that this is not something which I told you require any detail, any requirement of any knowledge of anything. Just say yes, and we can do this. So Rajneesh Jain is asking, best way to meditate. I don't know. I will share with you what worked with me, and you can all be part of this experience to see whether it works for you. That's how we will do. There is no best way. It is the way that works for you is the best way. Okay. So are we ready? I have the yeses from you. What I will require is a little bit of cooperation, so it makes this experiment successful. It is able to become successful. So with Gen Z, I do this a lot. But essentially, the first thing you have to do is to understand how to shut our phones off. I demonstrate this because many people don't know how to do it. So this is the first thing, is that I have to at least shut off the most distracting thing I have in front of me. Because if I have to go within myself and try to meditate, then I have to create the environment for it. Nothing great. Just sit in the room where you will not be disturbed. Make sure you have your phones which are on off, not silent. Just shut it off. I'm sure in the next half an hour you don't need it. Or if you do, please attend to it. Just shut it off for some time, because that's the one thing that will prepare you for whatever you need to do. The second and the last thing that you need to do is to sit in a position where you will not be uncomfortable. So it is like I am sitting in a chair. It's good enough. And then we can begin, right? So if you have all the three things that I described, be in a room where you will not be disturbed, shutting the phone, and sitting in a comfortable position is all you need to do right now. But just make sure that the chair is comfortable and that you're sitting in a pose which will not create any tension. So, for example, if you're slouching, it may not be the ideal situation. Don't be very ramrod direct or anything. Just feel what appears to be a comfortable pose to sit in. Okay. Now, the next set of instructions I will give over the few minutes, you will have to listen to them and then follow them mentally. There is no physical activity needed. This is no yogasana class. This is just meditation, which means your ability to do nothing, which is a tough thing because as the question was asked, what to do about our thoughts, we will do something about them. The way to deal with thoughts is to observe them first. So you bring in a gap between thinking and the thought. So who's thinking? I don't know. But that thought can be isolated. So this is the thought which is coming to my mind. Okay, I see that and I let it go. Okay, this is the practical way of just allowing the thought to come, not suppressing it or saying, no, I should not be thinking. No, allow it to come and they will come. They will come with humongous speed. You might think that there are not too many thoughts in your mind right now because you're engaged. But the minute I quieten down and I become quiet, all those things will come out, right? And yes, Gaurav, it is not as easy as I'm saying it. And that's why we're going to try it by ourselves. Don't take my word for it. And let's see whether this works. Okay. So, shall we begin? Let's first sit in this pose and gently close our eyes. Be very gentle. Don't force your eyes closed. Just very gently close your eyes. Allow yourself to experience what is inside. Maybe you are seeing some spots of light. You thought it would be dark, but there seems to be some light within. There is no source to this light, but there's some brightness. Just observe all these things. Settle down. And if you're sitting in a chair with both your feet on the floor, allow yourself to imagine that there is a healing energy which is coming from Mother Earth and it is entering your feet and it is relaxing them. Allow yourself to imagine this invisible energy coming in through your toes. You can wiggle your toes to feel it. Relax your toes and feel both the palms of your feet getting relaxed. Allow yourself to feel both your knees, ankles, and lower legs now feeling the same relaxation as your feet. It is as if the energy has moved up from the feet, up your ankles, up your lower feet and calf muscles, up to your knees. Feel this energy now move up to your thigh muscles. Feel both your thighs relaxed in your chair. Relax your hips. Feel as if you're sinking in your seat. Feel this energy now move up to your abdominal muscles. your hips, stomach, and waist. Feel the movement of your stomach as you breathe in and breathe out. Just feel it with closed eyes. Feel how the stomach bulges out when you breathe in and how the stomach relaxes and collapses when you breathe out. Feel the relaxation when you inhale and the relief when you exhale. Watch this movement happen naturally by themselves. Feel this energy now slowly move up your body to your chest area. Feel this energy also move up your back, lower back, and then to your upper back. Feel this energy relax your entire back. Allow this energy now to move to your shoulders. Drop your shoulders. Allow for all the burdens you're carrying on your shoulders to be kept aside. Feel as if your shoulders are simply melting away. Allow this energy now to move down from your shoulders to your biceps, upper arms. Relaxing your upper arms as it moves down to the elbows. Relax each muscle of your forearm down to the wrist, palm, and out of your fingertips. Feel both your arms completely relaxed. Take a moment to observe from the neck down to the toes of your feet. Your entire body is now relaxed. If you feel any part of your body which is tense, allow this energy to go there and relax it. You may not even feel your body below your neck. Now relax your neck muscles. Allow all the tension, anxiety, stress to leave the neck muscles. Allow the energy to slowly move up to your face, relaxing your jaw, your lips, cheeks, eyes, eyelids, eyebrows, forehead, all the way to the top of your head. Relax your facial muscles, earlobes, all the way to the back of your head. Feel as if this energy is relaxing each cell in your brain. Relax your mind. Now take a moment to observe from the top of your head to the tip of your toe. Your entire body is relaxed. You may feel one. Now slowly bring your attention to your heart. Experience the deep silence, love, and light in your heart. And stay there. Enjoy this moment of absolute silence within. And make a suggestion that the source of this divine light is already present in my heart. And that I'm slowly getting attracted to the source of this divine light deep within myself. I'm getting attracted and I'm going in slowly but surely. Let us begin meditation with this thought that I'm going deep within, open to any experience or feeling as I keep going within myself. If after some time of silence I experience thoughts or emotions, allow them to surface, have a look at them, and let them go. Try not to engage them. Try not to deal with them. Just allow them to come and go. Many times there might be another thought after that. Welcome the same and let it go. And we will continue this till we will end the meditation when I say that is all. And now let us all go within, be silent, and begin our meditation. Very gently, just observe what is happening inside. What is it that you're feeling now? Each of you will have a different experience. And it could be the entire spectrum of consciousness. From having thoughts to being silent to having the possibility that you may have gone to sleep or just feeling extremely calm, relaxed, and light. All and every experience is true because that has happened to you. Trust your experience and allow yourself to look inside and truly assess what is it that you're feeling right now. Allow yourself to enjoy this moment. Feel the deep relaxation. And for some of us, this ability to have meditated very briefly. But as we come out of it slowly, we may encounter a feeling of freshness, of lightness, and almost of euphoria. Allow yourself to move your fingers, your toes. Become aware of your body and yourself. And slowly, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. That's all. Give yourself some time to just feel relaxed. I can see my own face and I feel that, I've just had a very nice meditation. I can see it on my face. I hope some of you at least may have had some deep experience. But feel free to share whatever you're feeling right now in 2 or 3 words you want to describe. Fight between heart and mind. Yes, this is your first experience, so allow this fight to continue. If you're able to do this any better, slowly the heart wins. And I can assure you that this quiet, this relaxation, this deep silence is already there with you. You can always evoke it out anywhere in any time that you want. So Nagendra is asking, what do we do if we are disturbed by some body part pain, itching, or disturbed by mosquito? As I said, try to make the environment as suitable for sitting without any disturbance as much as possible. So the pain of the body comes from not having sat properly. Mosquitoes, obviously, if you have a repellent somewhere, maybe you can use that. But as I said, trying to prepare it in as good a way as you can. Anuradha is saying that reminder for her to start her meditation. Yes, absolutely. Very soothing experience, calmness, calming. Yes, thank you so much. So as you can see, there is an ability for all of us innately to just experience meditation. Some of the responses, Dipankar is saying, I experienced a lot of thoughts across diverse spectrums, then a sense of calm again, and some other thoughts crossed but faded away fast. So see, that's been a journey. Thank you so much for sharing. So it starts with a huge number of thoughts because once you close your eyes, it all comes out. Then slowly after some time, you experience that they're undulating, and then over time, you feel calm. Yeah, didn't realize how much time had gone by, right? So that's something amazing. Most of the time when we enter this genuine experience of meditation, we lose track of time. We don't even know how long we've been sitting. But what we can remember is that once we come out, it feels nice, feels calm, it feels relaxed. This is what is called as a condition. This is a condition that the meditation gives us. And this is the condition we will carry. Now, I want all of you to observe yourself for the rest of the evening, how you interact with your family members, whoever you need to interact with. There will be a marked change in the way you're acting now, as opposed to if you had not meditated. Now, imagine if we do this in the first thing in the morning. You can imagine how this can last into your day as much as it can before some crisis comes. But at least you give yourself a great chance of having a great day. So coming back to this question on when to do this, ideally, of course, at the start of the day, but you can meditate at any time in the day. Now, this is a generic response, but over time, you will become sensitive to saying that that is a better time to meditate. And then you decide what is the best time for you. Just to give an example, if you are sitting in a nice, cool place with no distractions, as opposed to you are sitting in a fish market, which is a better place to meditate, we all know, right? So there is not so much of a description of this or that. Just decide what's best for you and meditate wherever. I can meditate now in a moving train. I can meditate in a moving plane, as long as I can, sit by myself. Over 25 years is something what I learned. So it's not as if you're going to do it quickly and accurately from tomorrow, but it's a process. You keep learning this. So in the heartfulness method of meditation, this is the first of the three techniques that we teach of relaxation and meditation, which we generally do in the morning. We collect a lot of impressions during the day, and then towards the end of the day, we become heavy. Just imagine how we reach home, right? With all of the baggage that we carry, the disagreements we've had, the problems we've had, and then who are the recipients of this? Our nearest and dearest ones, our family. We lash out to them because of some irritation that we are carrying. We don't know. So we do a technique in heartfulness called cleaning after we reach home, after our day's work is over. And again, we reach a state like this. So which means we are resetting ourselves. We did that in the morning. We do that in the evening after our day's work is over. And then just before we sleep, there is a third technique that we learn, how to connect with our inner self and allow ourselves to go into this sleep mode. And I can assure you, if you do that bit, the quality of your sleep will dramatically improve. So yes, we sleep for so many hours is what we count, but what is the quality of sleep? And if you're able to do these three things, you can imagine how much of a support you are giving to yourself by calming your mind in the morning, allowing the impressions to be cleaned in the evening, and allowing yourself to go to sleep in an absolutely clean frame of mind, allowing for a reset all the time whenever you need it. Now, this one last bit about why we do this inner connect with ourselves before we sleep. I'm sure all of the traditions in India, especially as young children, we are told to pray before we sleep. There is a reason for that. Because we move from the waking conscious state into subconscious and then into unconsciousness, right? So that's the three states that we pass through in this period. But what are we carrying inside our subconscious. The last things that we see generally go into our subconscious. So the simplest example is when we are to give an exam when we were younger, we used to get dreams about, oh, I was there in the newspaper the paper and didn't have the ink to write, or my paper was blank and nothing was being written. Some such scare used to come in those nights before an exam. So what was happening? You were so tense about something that it slipped into your subconscious and it disturbed your subconscious and it manifested in the dream. This keeps happening. So now remember, what is the last thing you were doing before you went to sleep? And that will have an impact on the quality of sleep that you have. We don't prepare ourselves to sleep. We generally just get so tired that we crash into the bed and rest. So it's all about being serious about our inner health, our ability to, sleep well, have high quality sleep, and then perform better when we wake up, because all of those things have an impact on our moods and our behavior. And I can assure you that if you spend such time to really practice this properly, you will notice a very distinct change in the pattern of your thoughts, of how you react to situations and things. But as I said, this is only a claim. You can prove this only to yourself if you try it. That's the only piece of advice I can give you for the whole evening. There is no magic wand. It is a practice. And just like anything worthwhile, if you're taking up tennis, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, and takes willingness to do it. All of that is the same for anything else that you will try. The same will apply here. If you're serious about it, if you really feel that that can make a change in your life, then we all welcome you to start this practice of heartfulness, which is offered absolutely free of charge in over 160 countries. All of the resources are available on the website, heartfulness.org. All the practices are described. It is practiced and offered in over 160 countries. So which means it is not religious. It has no adherence to any philosophy. It is just an open-minded exploration of what is inside of you, which makes up our consciousness, and how can we become a better version of what we are. So that's about the time that I think we have socially contracted to have with each other. I thank each and every one of you for being present here and being open and willing to this experience. We do have only 2-3 minutes if there is any last questions. But if you have questions, then I'm sure Varundeep can collect them and then we can try to answer them at some later point of time.
Right. Thank you so much, Tushar. It was a really refreshing and calming experience. So I would request if anybody wants to share anything, and they can raise their hand and maybe I can unmute them and they can share.
I think they're preferring to type. Thank you so much for all your feedback.
I think they are relaxed and calm, and that is the reason they are just enjoying that particular.
Which is fine, which is absolutely fine. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much, Tushar. And